It's a Thursday night in Houston, and we're at SaberCat Stadium, a venue where Houston Dynamo 2 have dropped 1 point all season. From LA to Denver, the Whitecaps have come in with 4 points in hand, looking to break the 5th place tie with the Dynamo. Houston Dynamo 2 and Whitecaps 2 are at SaberCat Stadium in Houston. Hello and welcome, I'm Ryan Lee. Thanks for being with us. And after today, 10 games remain in the regular season. Houston are coming off a shutout win over North Texas, their first regulation win since May, snapping a 6-game winless streak that included 3 losses and 3 draws. As for Vancouver, they've earned points in 5 of the last 6. Ricardo Clark noted the collective effort of both sides of the ball, especially after a draw in Denver, where he said the players grinded and worked together to come away with a point. They'll look to come into Houston to break the deadlock at 5th place with a Houston Dynamo 2 side that are making a couple of changes from their match against North Texas. Di Morelli starts his 10th match of the year with Anor Giampi and Romero. Eric Duenas makes his Houston Dynamo 2 debut after 13 matches with LAFC 2 and MLS NEXT Pro. Primarily a first-teamer is Duenas, as he is also occupied on the back line with Wakatuya, who returns to the back line from his red card suspension. Pedro Cruz starts for the 16th time, coming back into goal after leaving North Texas with a clean sheet victory from Sunday. As for Vancouver and Ricardo Clark's side, he's making a couple of changes as well. Nelson Pierre starts up top, did not play with the first team last night. He starts with Alumi as the 2 top goal scorers for Vancouver Whitecaps 2. They are in connection with Mateo Clark, the Houston native. A lot of familiarity in the midfield with all 4 of the midfielders with over 10 starts this season. O'Neal, Palayo, and Chen are the defensive in front of Isaac Francoeur, who is making his 2nd career start, looking for his first win in his very short MLS NEXT Pro career. Making our way at center pitch at SaberCat Stadium in Houston, Texas, where Dynamo 2 and Vancouver Whitecaps 2 have been in lockstep since the 2024 season. They come into today both sitting at 6, 7, and 4 on the season with 25 points, right down the middle between Houston and Vancouver. They currently occupy 5th and 6th seeds in the Western Conference. Vancouver is 6th, Vancouver is 5th, Houston is 6th, and this is a very similar story as last year, as they were also neck and neck with each other last year as well, were Houston and Vancouver. Both were 10, 11, and 7 last year, occupying the number 7 and number 8 slots, advantage going to Vancouver, who had 1 more point in the standing, and they also both ended the year with a +1 goal differential. So Houston Dynamo 2, Vancouver Whitecaps 2, they have basically been in lockstep since last season, and the trends have continued to come. However, when it comes to games against each other, take a look at Houston Dynamo 2. Across the 6 matches, they have 3 wins under their pocket. Vancouver has 1, and the 2 games where they went to PKs, they were split. This is the second of 2 meetings between the Caps and Dynamo 2. The last time was back on April 23rd. That was back in Burnaby, British Columbia, where Houston Dynamo 2 got a 3-1 win, and Houston has had the upper hand on Vancouver in this head-to-head over the last couple of matchups. If you include the PKs, Houston have won the last 3 matches between Dynamo 2 and Whitecaps 2, 2-0-1 to be exact. However, for the Vancouver Whitecaps, it has been a lot of the up and downs to start off the season, but they've kind of found their form at the right time. Starting off at a win in Minnesota, it kind of kicked off a lengthy streak of 5 games with points out of 6. Coming off of a PK loss against Colorado, they did gain a point. However, it's been a lengthy road run for the Caps. They started off July going to Ventura County, where they got the full 3 before going to Denver on Sunday to take that PK loss, still getting a point at the end of the day. A performance where Ricardo Clark, really talked about the collective effort on both sides of the ball, really focusing on the offense and the defensive side of things. However, for Coach Clark. He's had to make a lot of changes just simply due to the nature of the lineup in MLS Next Pro. And part of that is in goal. Two goalkeepers who are both really inexperienced at this level. Sam Rogers is the backup to Isaac Francoeur. Francoeur only has one MLS Next Pro match under his belt. Sam Rogers yet to make his MLS Next Pro debut. So it's a lot of youth in goal for the Whitecaps, but we'll see how that can go on the offensive side of things, considering how they have the top goal scorer in MLS Next Pro with Nelson Pierre, who was a part of the Vancouver Whitecaps' 3-0 win against the Houston Dynamo last night on the MLS side of things. He didn't get a chance to play, so he gets to start today against Dynamo Dos, who are coming off of that aforementioned North Texas win, ending a 6-game winless drought as Houston Dynamo Dos. They're in the orange and white. White and blue are Vancouver. They go left to right as we are up and running here in Houston. Ryan Lee and our MLS Next Pro crew, thank you for joining us here at SaberCat Stadium, where Dynamo Dos have only dropped 1 point here all season, and that was a couple of games back where they got a PK win, so they got 2 out of the 3, but they have been stellar when playing at SaberCat. They only have 2 other non-winning results at home. Those were both at Shell Energy Stadium, where they had a loss against Minnesota in March, as well as a PK win against Sporting Kansas City in June. Attempting to turn on the Jets or the Whitecaps. However, nothing could come from it as Alumi couldn't quite escape the jumble up of orange. Chen works the wing towards Pierre. Djordjevic bodies off his man Rodriguez and wins the throw. Vancouver Whitecaps, one of the most ferocious attacking units across all of MLS Next Pro, a top 5 unit in goal scoring and in shots not only attempted but on target as well. They not only kind of bait you into loosening up your defensive structure, but they've also been really good at not just creating opportunities but sliding them into the back of the net as well, something that they've really done such a good job of all season, not just because they're able to threaten and get opportunities in the penalty area, but they've been able to do so almost purely in the run of play. Only one time they've gone to the dot in regulation, and a lot of those goals, 34 of 35 of them, have come in the realm of play. Only the one PK goal to speak of, so it speaks wonders as to how Vancouver is able to get everything done on the offensive side almost at will, as they are just outside of the top 3. Sliding it along, can't quite get the connection. Comes up for Pelayo. Salamani. Salamani keeps it in play, or at least attempted to, before that crossed the end line. Salamani, he is working as the left wing midfielder for today. Started the last couple of games as the left wing on forward. Couldn't quite escape the defender in front of him as he had Daniel Barrett in his face. As Barrett already works it back with his defensive partner, Isaac Wakatuya, who was unavailable the last time out versus North Texas after taking a red card against Colorado Rapids a couple of games back. And not only was that red card costly in that match versus Rapids, because they were a man down, but only about a dozen minutes after Mwakatuya took that red card, the Colorado Rapids would eventually take the game-winning goal in a 2-1 loss. That was the final game of a 4-game road trip for Dynamo Dos. As we have back-to-back goal kicks to start off on opposite ends, as we have the first touch made by Isaac Francoeur. Francoeur has been a regular in the Vancouver lineup, not in terms of play, but in terms of backing up, especially with Adrian Zendejas leading the way. He's not a part of the roster at all today. As the backup, as mentioned in the opening, Sam Rogers, an academy product at 16 who is yet to make his MLS Next Pro debut. So a lot of youth in net for Ricardo Clark as his side look to defend with Eric Duenas keeping this in play. Rodriguez awaits options. Holiday. Slips and slides towards Bulma, taken down. No free kick goes as Vancouver looks to transition. Elumi angles out. As we have a stoppage in play as the ball crossed the sideline towards that center stripe. Had a couple of guys dinged up behind the play. Jonathan Bulma limping his way back to center. He gets back up. You can see him right in the middle of the air, 14 in orange. He comes back in, the 23-year-old from Ghana. Bulma takes it. Slides it across. Duenas locks, loads, takes a deflection. Holiday for Rodriguez. Service to the area, too high. We've been seeing a couple of opportunities here, especially for this midfield trio for Houston Dynamo Dos. A whole wealth of experience for these guys. Even when you include guys like Sebastian Rodriguez, who the homegrown kid, 17 years of age, but still has 60 appearances in MLS Next Pro under his belt across 3 seasons. And then you have Jonathan Bulma, who is in his first year with Houston after spending the last 2 with New England Revolution's program, largely in MLS Next Pro. He's approaching 60 appearances. Today is number 55. And then you have Eric Duenas, who is a first teamer, really made his name well known as a consistent player with LAFC. Largely on the MLS side of things, only 13 total matches in MLS Next Pro. He's closing in on 60 in the MLS between LAFC and Houston Dynamo, where today is Duenas' first appearance with Houston Dynamo on the MLS Next Pro side of things. On the other end for Houston is Pedro Cruz, who is in goal for Houston. It's well known that he's going to be taking the trip about 2 hours northwest of here, closer to 3 actually, over to Q2 Stadium, where he'll be taking part of the probably most exciting event in the MLS All-Stars with Liga MX in the Goalie Wars. Bullmore keeps it for Houston as he just skies this one. And someone will climb a fence for that one. A couple of these services towards that back post for Houston. Neither of them have really come to bite the Whitecaps so far. It's been a relatively low event, 9 minutes or so for Francoeur. He's had to look out a few times, but nothing real threatening. As our head official in the blue, Caitlin Trowbridge, trying to give a little warning to Duenas for the bit of encroachment. Tiffany Turpin and Joshua Belk are the assistant referees, and William Hale is our 4th official. As you have the jersey tug right at center, that'll be called as Elumi will gain the whistle towards the Caps. coming right off of the goal kick, and it's kind of an obvious one there as Vancouver already back in business. Pierre, give and go, tries to erase Holiday. Pierre. Tight ropes the end line, but stripped. Bolma maintains possession, and all Olumi did was slow things down. Houston crosses center. Viveros. Di Morelli. Dueñas tangled up. And stripped back by Castro. Vancouver can't escape. Bolma. Scott Romero. All the space in the world on the wing. Gets past one. Tight ropes the line. Keeps possession. It was touched out of play for a corner by Chen. Tomas Romero, who was working on the wing, he had Djordjevic kind of beat for a little bit there before Chen came in on the reinforcements. And this will provide Houston with the first corner of the match. Joshua Bolma to take. Low drive, out of play, goal kick. Romero was in the area, could not do anything with it. Only making his third start of the season. Both of his first two starts came in June, where it actually accounts for both of the matches he played in June were starts, as O'Neill has to look out. Another grapple right at center, and this will be the first booking of the match only a dozen minutes in. It's Sebastian Rodriguez.
May I have your attention, please? Yellow card caution has been issued to number 19 from Houston Dynamo, Sebastian Rodriguez. 12 minutes.
A lot of the grappling and tugging of Houston Dynamo to start things off, especially in this early portion of the match. Sebastian Rodriguez, he's been in the book quite a number of times, 6 times, both this season and across his other 2 combined. He's got 12 across 3 seasons, 6 alone in 25. Held up by Viveros. Bolma leaves it. Houston, weirdly enough, a unit. They are a team that really has been so locked down on the defensive side of things, especially because they have one of the top units in MLS NEXT Pro in terms of keeping the ball out of the net. However, they also are a team that has struggled to reduce the opposition's opportunities. As you have a clip from behind by Djordjevic, this allows Houston to come on. Stepping in, loads up, and it's held on by Francor. The release was Di Morelli, but Francor makes his first big stop of the night. And you had a possible argument that Djordjevic might have gotten a foul from a clip on his heel, but then you had the left footer from Matteo Di Morelli that went right into the hands of Isaac Francor. Djordjevic looking for Pierre, but just too far of his range. It's deflection, And Pierre almost had that one bounce graciously towards the back of the net, but Cruz with a heads-up play. That ball trampolines back towards Houston's area off the head of O'Neill. Duenas with the touchback from Romero. Bulma centering. It's a tap in front. It's a bouncer. Right back towards Duenas. Up top, Rodriguez. Too much on the try, as Houston have already got a couple of good opportunities to start off. Bulma, this first chance for Romero was blocked, and then the follow-up by Duenas to find Rodriguez coming in. He just overcooks this one. Houston with the first couple of opportunities of this match. Suji. Drills it centrally, laid off for Djordjevic, but it is going to be called back offside. Marcelo Santos in his Houston Dynamo 2 side in good form to start off the season in his first head coaching gig for the 45-year-old Brazilian. Has some experience up north way back in the day in 2006, where he was hired as one of the assistants for the Thunder Bay Chill as a part of the USL PDL, better known as USL League 2 nowadays, where he actually won the 2008 USL PDL Championship as a member of the coaching staff for that Thunder Bay Chill. So he very much has experience up on the Canadian side of things. And if you're looking at things chronologically in terms of the timeline of things, that's 1 year after Ricardo Clark won back-to-back MLS Cups with the Houston Dynamo in their first seasons in Houston after relocating as the original San Jose Earthquakes. Played that 1 year with San Jose before the entire organization made the move from the Bay Area to the southern part of Texas. A place that Ricardo Clark still holds very dearly in his heart, a community that is just heavily involved with the Houston Dynamo franchise from Clark's recollection of his time back there. But one of his star players, Nelson Pierre, with the strip, and it is going to be taken out of play by Holiday for a corner. Jackson Castro to serve in the 18th minute. Castro's service headed down. It's a bouncer, palmed out by Cruz. And it doesn't matter. There was a foul in the box, and it will come out for Houston. Here's a nice service by Castro. Wait for Pierre to find the lane, and the bouncer forced the save by Cruz, but it doesn't matter because you had some jostling going on in the penalty area. Down the gut, Bulma. Dueñas feed for Romero. Returns to Joshua Bolma as him and Rodriguez continue the action with Dueñas in the midfield, who have been all over the place so far in the first 20 minutes. Dueñas connects to corner, lays it back, Di Morelli. Di Morelli swarms before Vancouver clear it out. Not for long, return Rodriguez. Di Morelli. Nice steal along the wing from Salamani as he gets a chance to break free for Vancouver. It's a foot race, 1v1, could be 1v2. Cut back, couldn't get it through. Alumi couldn't get it past Cruz. Alumi waits for help. Pierre in play and out of play. What a transition here by Ryan Alumi, who just went full speed ahead, and you had the hustle from Michael Holiday to maybe assist a little bit with Mwakatuya. Cruz came out of his box to force the issue as well. But at the end of the day, it's a throw-in where it's a foot race. It's Castro. Salamani. O'Neal steps in. Passes back to his Creighton Blue Jays college teammate, Castro, but it goes out of play for a Vancouver throw. You've seen a lot of Salamani on that far side. He started the last match against Colorado Rapids as the right wing on forward. He starts today as the right wing on the left wing, pardon, as a forward. He starts today as a left wing on the midfield. He has been so consistent for the Vancouver Whitecaps. Kept in play, serve to the area, too high for anyone to get it, so it's a goal kick to Cruz. You had that service once again. You had Alumi and Pierre in the area. What a turnaround try as Romero fights past Djordjevic. He just shook him out of his boots. Laid back Bolma. Dueñas. Ricardo Clark talked about how these Dynamo Dos players are so comfortable with the ball at their feet. Dueñas, one of them, service in the area. It's headed, it's loose, but the bouncer towards Frank Core as he smothers. Houston Dynamo continue to pack on the opportunities as you just have this one. Eric Dueñas, another one of those midfielders, just causing all sorts of havoc, and the finish of the forwards couldn't quite do so, but Alumi starts the counter for Vancouver. Nelson Pierre! Can't beat out Cruz, but Pierre has been all over the place trying to flex his muscles after being on the bench all game last night over at Shell Energy Stadium, where he saw the MLS side of things take that 3-0 win. And for Vancouver Whitecaps, it's been an overall organizational blossoming for them, considering how maybe they didn't have the highest of expectations going into the season, but they have absolutely shattered everything, especially with how things have gone with the international call-ups. A couple of the Whitecaps players were heavy features, especially with Brian White and Sebastian Berhalter in the Gold Cup, and their next pro team have upped the ante a little bit as well, and they'll have to do so defensively against another Houston corner. DiMorelli towards the back post, only Duenas in the region. Barrett attempted save, cannot do so. Anor Giamfi centering, Bulma with a fumble. Second try for Rodriguez. Serves it out wide as Houston maintains possession. Houston just playing keep away or attempting to on Vancouver, 57% to this point as Romero pauses things. Rodriguez to serve, headed out by the Caps. No second option as you have a man back, Pelayo, rolling in the area, and they want to examine maybe potential head injury after some contact for the jump ball. So we take a look at the last play that had Adrian Pelayo grappling the back of his head inside of the penalty area. And you just had Pelayo. He got a bit of contact on Anor Giamfi's backside. And after all of that, Anor Giamfi was the one shown with the yellow card because his hip and also maybe a little bit of cooling of heads. It is quite a steamy day here in Houston. 90 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff. And they might be using this time to utilize an impromptu hydro break. And part of what we've seen from both sides so far is a lot of Houston getting opportunities towards the Vancouver end, and Vancouver kind of going full speed ahead the other way. Marcelo Santos of Houston Dynamo Dos really talked about how one of the things you have to really be careful of is how dangerous and organized Vancouver Whitecaps 2 are, especially the defensive side of things. They kind of bait you into being aggressive and then utilize that aggression offensively to maximize their counter. We've seen that come across a couple of times with chances from Ryan Alumi. We've had Nelson Pierre in the mix a couple of times, as we have the resumption of play after the last foul. Looks like Pelayo is going to be okay, as you saw him standing alongside Francoeur on that last service, and Pierre couldn't get back in time, so this will be just coughed up to Houston. Romero to center, takes a deflection, still alive. DiMorelli can't escape. Duenas gets free. Looks for breathing room as he's got Juan Viveros. Got his first MLS Next Pro goal on Sunday against North Texas. One of 3 in that 3-0 win. Duenas to center. He takes a chop down and a free kick for the Dynamo. Duenas has been so threatening, using a little bit of that first team experience to his benefit. He was with the LAFC organization since 2020, came over with Houston in this past offseason, and even spent a little bit of time in the USL Championship with Las Vegas Lights on a quick loan stint in 2022. He wins the foul, but will not take it. You have Bulma and DiMorelli, give or take 25 yards from goal. You have DiMorelli, Bulma, and Wakatuya right behind. At the half an hour, DiMorelli towards goal off the wall. However, Houston hangs on as it will be their throw. Right into the head of Nelson Pierre. Didn't even have to jump for it, just right off the throw. DiMorelli knifes through the defense, keeps it going. DiMorelli slicing, dicing, executing. Matteo DiMorelli, what a way to get goal contributions in back-to-back. And he opens the scoring for Houston. They're up 1-0. What an individual effort from Matteo DiMorelli. Takes it from the edge of the attacking third and just wipes through the Whitecaps defense. Left-footed strike on the bottom right to get the first goal of the game, his second of the season. And what a goal by Matteo DiMorelli for the second year. We're only through 3 games of match week 19, but you might already see an early contender for goal of the week after an individual effort like that. And we mentioned at the start how Houston, they've been so good here at SaberCat Stadium. They've also been excellent when getting the early goal on the board. They've gotten points in all 5 of their games where they've gotten the first goal on. 4 of them wins, only 1 gone to PKs. How does Vancouver respond as they're already back in Houston's end? Trying to strip it back, and they'll win a free kick of their own. Keeping from Selemani and the just waiting up for Castro, who was centering attempted. Looked like he had Georgievic, who was the one getting all pretzeled up there. As it will be Jackson Castro, Plano, Texas native, 22 years old, 3-time All-Big East with Creighton. Not quite the angle to score, but it is a chance for Castro to serve. Into the area, headed down, punched out by Cruz. Second chance for Selemani. Second try as it's headed up by Alumi, but nothing there. Georgievic taken down, top of the area, penalty. The cutback by Nikola Georgievic got Anor Giamfi reaching right at the corner of the penalty box. And it's a chance for Vancouver to tie things up at 1. The Whitecaps have only taken 1 attempt in regulation at the PK spot. It was a conversion, and they look to tie this game at 1. Jackson Castro steps up to the spot. Castro 3 goals in his first season in MLS Next Pro. He had a goal and 4 assists on 3 matches in June. Down 1-0 in Houston. Castro slots it home. Whitecaps win 1 back and tie this game 1-1. It was Nikola Georgievic who got the tackle by Anor Giamfi that allows Jackson Castro to step up on the dot and had Cruz going the wrong way as we are level 1-1 when it's all said and done.
May I have your attention, please? Goal scorer. Whitecaps to the 35th minute, number 44, Jackson Castro.
So only 4 minutes after the original goal by Di Morelli, which is credited with an assist from Wakatuya. You have Castro from the dot off the foul wall from Nikola Djordjevic. And then you also have a little bit of a stoppage in play as the whistle takes the ball towards center. It's a turnover for Vancouver off the foot of Suji. Romero cuts inside, too far Rodriguez, leaves it for Bulma. Viveros. Centering feed off the mark, and you have to be careful if you're Mark O'Neill, especially going on the one-on-one. He was very close. Him and Salamani were very close to maybe giving Houston a penalty of their own. And this is another missed pass from Vancouver. Houston capitalizes. Di Morelli, Anor Giamfi scoops this one towards the box. Stolen away from Romero. Holiday. Him and Rodriguez occupy the near side, but an errant pass gives it back to the Caps. Always a healthy environment in Houston, something that Ricardo Clark kind of expected going into the game today, knowing this Houston community as a player where he spent so much time with the Houston Dynamo organization. He still to this day is second in franchise history in games played with 304 matches. As a member of the Houston Dynamo does Vancouver's head coach Ricardo Clark. A couple of stints to start off in 06 and 09, then came back for another 5 years between 2012 and 2017. And we talked about how Marcelo Santos won the USL PDL Championship in 2008. The 2 years prior to that, Ricardo Clark won 2 MLS Cups with Houston in 06 and 07. And not only was he able to get those 2 cups with Houston, he eventually made his way overseas into the Bundesliga right around 09 to 2010, where he would be called up to the 2010 World Cup roster in South Africa. And after his playing days were all over, came back to Houston, finished his time up in the MLS before joining the Houston Dynamo organization in one of his first head coaching gigs as a member of the Houston Academy's coaching program. Slipping and sliding, Jackson Castro trying to set up another one as Djordjevic takes contact but stays on his feet. Djordjevic. Suji. The back unit of Luka Chen and some of the midfielders as well coming back to help out. That was Mateo Clark setting the service back with O'Neill and Pelayo. Final 5 minutes of the half. It's Juan Viveros. But nothing comes as maybe overtouched that last opportunity. And Viveros is a little slow to get up as well. Juan Viveros, 20 years old, from Colombia, coming in on loan from the Boca Juniors Cali in the second tier of the Colombian soccer pyramid. And ever since coming over to MLS Next Pro, he's been a consistent contributor with Houston, playing in all 6 matches between June and the first couple matches here in July as well. Now 7 games played for Viveros if you include today, with 6 of them being starts. Holiday and Dueñas, they've been making the Caps' life difficult on this near side. Rodriguez hesitates, instead cycles with Barrett. Viveros towards the area, headed up by Chen, still up for grabs. Punch, it's loose, it's Bulma, and it's a foul against Houston as Francoeur was reaching. The cycle for Houston has made Vancouver's life difficult defensively. They've been getting these services in, and then you had the opportunity. It's been the hip side of Steven Anor-Giamfi. He's got to look out because he was on the yellow card earlier that sent Adrian Pelayo to ground. One back by the Caps. A bit of grappling on Nelson Pierre, so it'll be a free kick just outside the center circle. Houston coming off of a 6-game winless drought. A lot of the challenges that Houston Dynamo 2 have dealt with. Talking about how even in the positive results, they're always focusing on what's to be fixed. And with the overall youth of their team, a lot of teenagers, a lot of guys coming off fresh in the academy, not a lot of NCAA experience with Dynamo Dos. It was probably best case scenario to start things off, but things were catching up to us as of late, were the words of Marcelo Santos, as his side attempted to cross, but headed out by O'Neal. Even some of the minor details between these two have been lockstep since 2024, as they have identical records both this year and last, but the deadlock will be broken as the attempted centering feed cannot be collected by Pierre. Now gets the strip back. Di Morelli from Wakatuya in the 31st. 4 minutes later, it would be Jackson Castro from the spot as Nikola Djordjevic was taken down by Steven Anor-Giamfi at the top of the box. Turnaround for Dueñas. He's got room. Lays it out for Bulma, interrupted by O'Neal. Salamani scoops it to center. Alumi gets a touch and scores! Run, Ryan Alumi! He's got 5 goals in 5 games and puts Vancouver ahead 2-1. What a way to clip off the tail end of the first half. And what a touch by Alumi. He's been looking for those stretch passes all game long. You've been seeing Alumi start things off, just full steam ahead, gets past the defenders with Wakatuya and Barrett. And you have Ryan Alumi, second most goals on Vancouver Whitecaps 2. He's now got 6, and he's 5 for his last 5. A brace versus Ventura County to start off July. a brace versus North Texas to cap off June. And the 2-1 lead for Vancouver after Houston's been the one causing the greater danger in today's game, as this is served in, but nothing goes. Bulma chopped down, free kick, Houston. We have 2 extra minutes coming on deck.
2 minutes.
It's been a relatively continuous first half, aside from that quick injury stoppage with Adrian Palaio, but the last time we saw a free kick from here, it was DiMorelli. Bulma alongside again. In first half stoppage time, Bulma and DiMorelli. Bulma to take too high. Nice try though by Bulma, as DiMorelli took the last free kick from that approximate area. And you already see maybe some of the complications of the grass field coming into play with the clogged up cleats, but nothing that Francoeur isn't willing to maybe eat up a couple more of those precious ticks off the first half. As Vancouver have 2 goals unanswered in the final 10 minutes of the half. Suji bodied off, comes back towards Bulma. And a nice intervention by Djordjevic to give Vancouver the ball back. A lot of that counter press and a lot of those offensive opportunities for the Caps have been a lot of game planning. This might have been the plan for Ricardo Clark, as his side is up 2-1 at the half. And Houston have work to do when we come back from the break. This week marks the MLS All-Stars and are the goalie wars. We take a look at what goes into making the championship belt and take a look at the competition from last year.
In my head, just score this and win the belt. So I took a deep breath, focused on my accuracy, and yes, Isaac Walker, the new champion. How about this? How about this? How about this? Come on now.
So I got into championship belts when I was a kid. I was a big wrestling fan in the 80s, and I used to love watching the championship belts on TV. And I used to draw them on paper. My name is Andrew Lazarchik, and I am the owner of Wildcat Championship Belts. In 2005, I officially started Wildcat Championship Belts, where we started making authentic title belts. I would make wrestling title belts for small wrestling promotions, or anybody else that really needed an award. In 2007 was when we got our first big break, when Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs called us, and they needed a title belt for their hot dog eating competition, and they needed it quickly. So we agreed to do that, got it done very quickly, and we've made that title belt every year since 2007. We started working with WWE at that time too, and we started making some of the belts for WWE in 2007. It's grown. We make belts for anybody that needs a unique award. That's how we kind of grew the business into what it is today. When I started Wildcat Championship Belts, it was a part-time gig for 15 years. I'm not an overnight success. It was a lot of work. You know, you talk about your 10,000 hours of practice. You know, I've had my 10,000 hours of practice.
Last year's Goalie Wars belt was designed by Wildcat Championship Belts and was a big hit with fans and players alike. This year's belt has been modified with new changes that catch the eye.
The The idea behind the belt is it almost has arrows on it, kind of graphically interpreting kicking the ball as hard as you can into the goal. So that was kind of the first concept we came up with, and then we tweaked it to get it to where it is now. This year we used the arrow branding that MLS NEXT Pro uses as the side plates, as well as the location. This year it's Columbus, Ohio.
MLS NEXT Pro and Wildcat Championship belts have collaborated to bring another world-class belt to life with an in-depth process.
Whenever we make our title belts, everything's custom made by hand. It has to be drawn out, cut out, tooled individually by hand. Each little, mark in the leather is a hand-tooled stamp. As far as the plates go, that's all custom designed from scratch. It's not mass-produced, gold-plated, nickel-plated in the MLS NEXT Pro case. They're then painted by hand right here in our workshop. We paint them by hand. And then assemble it here, assemble the plates onto the leather, glue the backing on, and we have a finished product.
With this year's belt, there's a focus on graphical elements that make the belt unique.
We knew that we wanted to somehow graphically interpret the soccer game as part of the design, but there's a tangible element of soccer that we kind of were able to graphically interpret. So we try to do that with branding or with something as literal as soccer or fantasy football, that kind of thing. We have to mesh that with the classic idea of what a championship belt is to look like.
It takes thousands of hours to become a champion, which is why Andrew's motto is no days off. It's a motto that recipients of his belt can relate to.
The coolest part about having these belts go to winners and champions is knowing that they earned it. Last year when Isaac Walker earned that title belt, he'd throw the belt over his shoulder and he was very proud because he was a champion and he earned it. That's the coolest thing, to be able to help people that they've done the work, they've done the hard work to become a champion, but until you have that title belt strapped around your waist or over your shoulder, that's when you're really a champion. If you do the hard work, you put the time in, you put the effort in, you can become a champion, and we can help you do that.
Andrew's dedication to his craft comes through in all of his work. He's determined to share that passion with the next generation as well.
If I can, share that passion with others by helping them become a champion, whether it's with a title belt or with our Little Champs program that we started, where every year we donate a portion of the profits to Toys for Tots. And we've donated over 1,500 toy championship belts to kids since we started doing this. Now we're donating funds to our local school district to help the school district with buying things for the classroom. And those kids will eventually have a passion of their own, and hopefully whatever funding that we can help with will grow their passion to what they want to do with a career. So it's more than just making title belts and making a living. It's really following your passion.
Let's go. Here comes Jean-Antoine, goalkeeper for Chattanooga FC. It's great to have Jean out here. He's from Haiti. He's 30 years of age, and his opponent tonight, Chitaru Odonze of Crown Legacy. Remember, Crown Legacy, victorious last season. And here we go. The first effort is missed. Mo, how costly could that be here early?
It could be everything. You get the first look, you got to find the back of the net. Set the tone.
Here's Chitaru now with his shot. Oh, saved over the bar. Little bit of urgency we're seeing now from Jean-Antoine with the throw this time, blazing over.
I'm not sure I'm going with a throw on this, Mo. I'm going ball drop kicking from my feet. You get more power, no?
I like the techers, yeah. I like a little drop kick, get a little, oh, that was it there. I thought that was it there.
I don't think we're gonna get 0-0. We got just under a minute though. These guys got to score here.
Nerve setting in. They're just trying to get those kinks out. Here we go.
Oh, what a save. Excellent save there. Good effort from Chitaru Odonze. The man from Raleigh, North Carolina now with his strike.
Oh,
what a save again.
Back to back.
Such a tense opening match
I
here.
like what Odonze is doing right now. He's slowing it down, managing the moments right now.
Odonze, oh, what a save.
You know the momentum shift. Here we go. Oh, good save.
These two goalkeepers canceling each other out. 25 seconds to go, fellas. Oh, it's a great throw off the upright. Would you believe it? so close.
The fatigue,
16 seconds.
It might just take one.
starting to set in, though. You can see both of these guys.
It might just take one is right,
he
blazing
dragged
wide. And now an opportunity for Jean-Antoine to win it. He's got 6 seconds. He's got to hurry up.
I don't think he
3
realized
seconds.
this.
He's got to take it to win it. Off the woodwork. A sensational start. 0-0 the score. And Jean-Antoine and Chitoro Odonze go again.
What just happened?
Chitoro Odonze didn't start with the ball the first time. He gets to go now. He gets the advantage. Jean-Antoine had the advantage to start Goalie Wars, but now we're in overtime. They get 1 goal each if still level. Then we head to sudden death. Next penalty score, the winner. Here we go. Odonze! It's a beauty! It's a beauty for Crown Legacy. If he missed, it's over, and that is it. Congratulations. Chitoro Odonze is headed to the Goalie Wars final. Excellent effort, Mo, from both of these competitors.
I mean, that was amazing.
Maybe one of these competitors will be back next year doing interviews like Isaac Walker. Here for the next round, the semi-final of Goalie Wars, Michael Colodi representing North Texas.
Oh, there we go.
And of course,
Already
we've got
off the
Stas
get-go.
Lapkus. Stas Lapkus!
Whoa! What is going on here?
Great response there from Lapkus. Oh!
Okay, whoa.
You don't
3
go
for
those.
3. These guys are
thought he
bringing
had
it, but that is a miss. Lapkus with the miss this time. 18 years of age from Belarus.
Oh, wow.
This Michael.
What is going on here?
Michael Colodi, he's out here showing out right now.
Yeah, Colodi, top class. The 23-year-old is absolutely brilliant, but here's a response from Stas Lapkus. His dad is a 5-time Olympian, 4-time fencer and a coach there as well. Athletic ability is there for all to see. Lapkus has got to get back in this game, though, as he blazes over, Mo.
That was the moment. Colodi's done really well. Now he can just manage this. Just manage this a little bit.
Oh,
There's no reason
just
to rush
right.
it.
Are you managing it? I'm going for glory here. I'm putting as many balls into the back of the net. If I am hot, I am hot.
Yeah, but
And as
hey,
soon as
there's
you
less
pull
than
off-
30 seconds on it, guys.
Exactly.
There's a 2-goal
That's not
difference
a winner's
right now.
mentality, guys. Come on.
A winner's mentality is you win. You protect your lead.
And Stas Lapkus is with Crew 2. He's on home
see?
turf here. He's the hometown boy.
Oh, he's a little bit
just
tired.
wide. Here we go. Colodi has that 4-2 advantage. 10 seconds left, and he's winding
Yeah, see that?
down
You see
the
that?
clock.
Okay.
There's that management from the fella from North Texas, representing FC Dallas.
These two finalists, they won in different ways. Odonze had to go into sudden death. Colodi came out hot, set the tone early, and got the job done.
All right, folks, 6 seconds is what they have to get the ball away here and shoot. 3 steps with the ball in their hand. Here we go, the Goalie Wars Championship. For the Goalie Wars belt, you saw the WWE superstars, Sheamus and Sonya Deville on site with Isaac Walker, the winner
Give
last
him the
year.
eyes, Mo.
Again.
Brilliant finish that. Now from the hand this time, not far away from Colodi.
Tell you what, Odonze's he's got a huge frame.
No, what would it mean for Crown Legacy?
Back to back?
Charlotte FC to go back to back here tonight.
That'd be everything. You saw the way Isaac Walker walked out with that belt. My man is owning the moment.
That he is, and more. Lovely save from Chitoro Odonze. Lovely save yet again. So tense here. 40 seconds to play. The grand finale of Goalie Wars.
Great save. kept it in play as well.
You know what my favorite thing about the goalie wars as well is all the players literally love it. You should see them all behind these little signs here. Everyone's so invested.
Oh, Bernardeschi may as well be kicking every ball. Blazing over here. And now this is when you see Odunze just take his time, though.
Yep, manage the moment. Oh, but he's got to find that second one.
He's not putting the game away here, and he's leaving an opportunity. But that's a brilliant save, and the question now is, will that be it for
Last
Michael
opportunity.
Goalie?
Oh, quick, get a ball.
Get a ball for what?
He's taking his time here.
Chitaro Odunze has been crowned. That's it.
He's done it. Congratulations, Chitaro Odunze, Goalie Wars champion here in 2024.
Hey, they said I shouldn't touch it.
Halftime highlights between Houston Dynamo 2 and Vancouver Whitecaps 2. 2-1 is the score at the half. Here's the one that opened things up in the 31 minute after the assist from Isaac Wakatuya. It was a solo effort from Matteo Di Morelli to get it all by himself. And then the penalty at the top of the box taken down by Nikola Djordjevic. And then the bury by Jackson Castro. That one tied things up 1-1. Only 4 minutes after Di Morelli got that opening goal in the 35th. And the counterattack by Vancouver Whitecaps were kind of something brewing. It just hadn't really come to roost yet. Then you had this long ball right on the money for Ryan Illumi to chip it past Pedro Cruz to tie the game up 2-2 at 44 minutes, as that was really it for the first half of play. 3 goals to speak of. Vancouver takes the go-ahead goal 1 minute before the regulation 45. And as we mentioned, a lot of the threat of Houston Dynamo 2 has come from their midfield. That trio of Sebastian Rodriguez, Joshua Boma, and Eric Duenas, who is a first-teamer. He is only going to play a half. And that is exactly the result that we got. A halftime substitution from Marcelo Sanchez, Leo Guitao in, Eric Duenas is out to start the second half, as we are back in business for the second half. Vancouver, white and blue, right to left. Houston, orange and white, left to right. Ryan Lee and our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew welcome you back here to SaberCat Stadium in the heart of Houston. The first teamer, Duenas, is out for Leo Guitao, the 17-year-old coming in, as looking to make the immediate impact is Houston, but the service is cleared out off the dive from Castro. Long ball, Illumi turned around, and nothing more comes there. So it's midfielder for midfielder. Duenas, the first teamer, is out. You have the 17-year-old from the academy, Leo Guitao, coming in right at the halfway mark. And you also have some of that experience of Rodriguez and Boma to kind of bolster the inexperience of Guitao. As this one centered and doesn't quite come through as it took a deflection. Di Morelli. Sends it around, took a partial block. Holiday steps in and trying to slither his way out of the air as Salamani. If you look at just the numbers, you'd think that this was a dominant first half by Houston. 10 shots to 6. 58% of the possession going to the home side. However, when the Caps have been on the ball, they have made life really difficult for Houston. For the just over 40% they have had the ball, as Nelson Pierre and Jonathan Bulma contact each other. A deadlock at 5th place between Houston and Vancouver, both 6, 7, and 4 going into tonight with 25 points apiece. You can even break down some of the statistical mirroring of each other. They're even 3-1 when they take the draws to penalties this year too, and it just continues on from there. But only one has the opportunity to overtake North Texas, who were 1 point above both these teams going into today, as Rodriguez sends it across. Bulma out wide. DiMorelli can't connect with Anor Giamfi. Anor Giamfi. Attempted cross blocked by O'Neal. The win by Houston against North Texas probably more pivotal than it was initially made out to be, because both of these teams were only trailing North Texas by a point going into today, and maybe even an opportunity to climb closer towards Colorado Rapids as well, who sit 4 points above. DiMorelli leaves it behind. Anor Giamfi right towards the goalkeeper, Isaac Francor, who has had to make 3 stops so far to this point. As it was laid across, DiMorelli left it behind, and nothing quite comes from that. He's seen 3 shots on target, has only stopped 2 of those 3 to this point. A much different story than the last time Francor was out. He had 7 scoring attempts go his way against Real Monarchs in his MLS Next Pro debut at the end of June, where that was the lone loss in the 6-game stretch for Vancouver, where they had points in 5 of the last 6. The only one was in Francor's first start, as you see the offensive foul for Anor Giamfi, and he's got to be careful because he's on a yellow, and he has been throwing the body all over the place. Guitao sprints forward. Anor Giamfi tries to cut across in the area and just slips for a goal kick towards Francor. And that's what Fresh Legs can do. It can beat out some of the more experienced, if you will, members of this Vancouver Whitecaps defense. As you have some jostling. Alumi was hand-on-hand with Mwakatuya. That time Alumi, the aggressor, who got the go-ahead goal in the 44th. Salamani trying to go deep for Pierre Cruz in a bit of no man's land before returning to the box. Up the gut, can't connect. Anor Giamfi looking for the Hail Mary pass towards Alumi. Bulma. Holiday interrupted by O'Neal. O'Neal, former Creighton Blue Jay, alongside his teammate Castro. As this gets fanned out. Dan Barrett, Wakatuya, and Rodriguez. Rodriguez centers, Di Morelli. Can't quite do the same thing he did earlier, but that allows Nelson Pierre to start the engines. Romero. Attempted center, nothing there. And Wakatuya cut down again by Alumi. A little bit of a warning by our head official, Caitlin Trowbridge, as just had a bit of a grapple there between Alumi and Wakatuya. A little bit of a hook there. Georgievic. Castro swings to Clark. Mateo Clark waits for help. Alumi. Castro scored the opener for Vancouver on a PK to tie things at 1. Before Selemani hit the deep ball towards Alumi for the go-ahead before the end of the half. O'Neal steps in. Clark. Vancouver waiting for a strike. Georgievic sends it back. Alumi wanted to set up, but he was harassed the whole way through by Houston. As Gitau, too short for Honor Giamfi. Castro tugged on by Di Morelli. Another verdict made by our head official, Caitlin Trowbridge, Tiffany Turpin, Joshua Belk, the assistant referees, and William Hale, our fourth official, all in the blue today. As we are approaching 8:20 local, where it is a 87-degree day here in Houston. Not as humid as you would normally expect here in Texas, but very hot, as are some of the heads maybe of some of these guys with all the fouls that have been committed. They forced our head official, Caitlin Trowbridge, to send out the yellow cards at least twice already. We're closing in on 20 fouls at the hour. 9-6, Houston's got those extra 3. And this is the second of 2 consecutive home games for Houston. They go back-to-back on the road One of them just about a 3-hour-long bus trip to Austin. And then they had to take a flight up north towards the great state of Minnesota. And that free kick chance was squandered. One more game tonight in the MLS Next Pro slate. A pair of Western Conference clashes on deck. All a part of match week 19 in MLS Next Pro. 13 games remaining on the weekend between today's later game as well as a whole slate between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tacoma and Real Monarchs will cap off the night. 10 p.m. Eastern, kickoff 7 Pacific. As Francor had to be careful, you had Honor Giamfi charging in. Pierre on the twirl. Wanted to set up a Lumi, but too deep. Or might have been trying to catch Cruz off of the box as well. Guitao cuts through the defense. He's taken down in the area. Is there a whistle? Keep play on. They say play on. The ball's out of play. No penalty for Houston, but we will have substitutions coming up. We take a look at that last chance. Leo Guitao was cutting through the defense, trying to argue maybe he got a touch on O'Neal were the clamoring of the fans, but this will be the opportunity for Marcelo Santos to make substitutions. He has Miles Gardner and David Garcia coming in with Steven Honor Giamfi and Tomas Romero coming out. Miles Gardner only in his 3rd appearance of the season, both in the 2 games against North Texas. The one in March was his first match of the season. The one on Sunday versus North Texas was his 2nd match of the season, his first start of 2025. And then you have the other substitute up top, the 17-year-old David Garcia, a youth international at the U17 level for his native country of Venezuela. And Ricardo Clark will make a substitution as well, as the first teamer and leading goal scorer in MLS Next Pro, Nelson Pierre, takes a squad on the bench for the 21-year-old from Chelsea, Quebec, in Antoine Copeland. Spent the last couple of seasons in Croatia at the top tier, where he went overseas to Europe after spending the first 3 years of his pro career over in Ontario with the Ottawa Fury and Atletico Ottawa. So that's 3 quick subs, 2 for Houston, 1 for Vancouver, all of them on the attacking side of things. So we'll see how that pans out in the long run. Halliday. Nice use of the body by Selemani, who has really been rewarded over the last couple of weeks. Signed his contract with the 2nd team at the beginning of June on the 7th, and only a week after that he made his MLS debut on the 14th in a road game against Columbus Crew. Has really been consistent with Whitecaps too. Set up the go-ahead goal, towards Ryan Alumi. However, Houston are the ones in control of the second half, but the flub by Holiday is a goal kick. Just continuing to see Houston trying to really work on the wide side of things, and it has worked with Houston so far. That is how they got their first goal, is working the outside in, as O'Neal has to look out. A near turnover, but it is going to be dumped out by Francor. There's a chance, it's a shot, and it's over. Cruz is going quick. But we've seen the offensive threatening opportunities for Djordjevic. He just hasn't converted on any of them so far. He did draw a penalty in the first half that led to the game-tying goal, as we have a chance for Gardner the other way. Bulma slides it. Guitao. Couple of fake moves. It just comes back towards the top. It's a long distance try, and it's right towards Francor. Houston have been getting their opportunities. They have been testing Isaac Francor quite a bit. Maybe hoping that some of his early confidence might have been shaken off of that 3-2 loss towards the Real Monarchs, but he has been pretty sharp and hasn't had to make any extremely difficult saves, but has made the ones he's needed to make, as Alumi is cut down for a free kick. This is the third game of a 3-game road trip for Vancouver. They played Ventura County, got the 3 points there, went home to British Columbia before taking a consecutive road trip to Denver, where they played on Sunday. They've been in Houston since Monday, and they look to hang on to the 2-1 lead and capture the full 3. A free kick in the 65th. Back post, headed down, dribbling away and cleared. Chen all the way back. Francor drives it for Suji. Mateo Clark wanted to go for Alumi, but too much gas on that pass. It's a very congested playoff race in the Western Conference, especially with only 10 games remaining after today. Third and 11th are separated by 7 points. If you include VCFC at second, that is 9 points separated between 11th in the West, currently occupied by Real Monarchs, sitting at 22 points, and VCFC at 31 points, number 2 in the West. There is so much potential flip-flopping of the standings, as we are in match week 19 of 30. Game number 18 for both the Caps and Dynamo Dos, as we had a couple of false starts from the officiating. Service to the area, headed out by Vancouver. Selemani fights off Gardner. Clark wide open. Selemani returns to his position on that left wing. Ricardo Clark just talking about the offensive structure, how there's just been a lot of emphasis on those runners, focusing on getting numbers into the final third. Not necessarily gonna out-defend you most games. They're just gonna wait for their moment to strike, and they've done that very well twice so far. One drew a penalty, one scored a goal. As this one centering attempted, Alumi, that one gets past him. It's back for Clark. Nothing comes from the last attack except for a catch for Pedro Cruz, who has been excellent so far this year for the 21-year-old from Brazil, who came in from the youth ranks in Brazil. Pretty much made his impact in MLS Next Pro right out of the gate, being the goalkeeper of the month in MLS Next Pro in April. And he's continued that form ever since. 6-5-4 is Houston's record when he is starting in goal. Already the accolades. Already mentioned his participation in Goalie Wars, and currently has the second most stops across MLS Next Pro. 70 in 17 games going into today's midweek match. As we had a bit of contact made after the play was made behind it. It was Bulma. .20 minutes left where Vancouver are up on Houston 2-1. All goals scored in the first half. After the half an hour, in that final 15 minutes, it was just a concoction of offensive opportunities that were capitalized. As we approach the 70th minute, we've already seen in the first half, that's all it takes for this game to flip. Just a couple of chances at the right few minutes. As this is headed along, chopped down, Garcia scrambling, Francor, no one gets it. Whitecaps clear. And the contact from Francor and looks like David Garcia, they were smashing into each other at the top of the penalty box. And you still have men on the ground. As we just look at this last opportunity, you had Gintao, and then you had that diving attempt. Garcia just slips. Francor goes for the dive, and inadvertently, at least by the perception of it all, Garcia just kind of lands on Francor. Nothing malicious there, just a little bit of lost footing. You already see some of the chips and clips on the dirt. All the marks on the pitch and on the jerseys just shows how physical this game has been, how close this game has been. And for Houston Dynamo, they've just been focusing on trying to be on their best every single chance they get. And for Marcelo Santos talking about how he's been most pleased that the guys have embraced the challenges. They have a challenge coming up to them the last 20 minutes, trying to go up from a 1-goal deficit, where we take a look at the goals in this little hydro break on an 86-degree day. This was the opener. It was Matteo Di Morelli, and he just absolutely cooking on this goal. Got through everybody. You had the foul on Djordjevic, which led to the Castro PK. And then you had the deep ball, the home run pass that Vancouver was looking for all game long. Ryan Alumi on the connection with Johnny Salamani to chip it over Cruz and give the Caps the lead at 2-1. And it was a much needed hydro break for both sides, as it is absolutely roasting in Houston. 87-degree day, as we have Gavin Wolf on the sideline with our fourth official, and this is a very interesting switch up because you have the goal scorer for Houston, Di Morelli, who is going to go onto the bench, and in the 73rd you have a winger who was starting on offense coming out for a center back in Gavin Wolf. So the big question is how threatening has Marcelo Santos seen of Whitecaps' attack that they needed to bring in another back and take a forward off when you're down a goal nonetheless? Previous experience with Austin in MLS Next Pro a season ago, only played 1 game with Austin. This is his 13th game of the 2024 season. But Houston might have also invigorated themselves as well, as Juan Viveros comes back on the corner. Halliday. Already the substitute, Gavin Wolf, coming back to cut off Alumi. And that's maybe the negative about trying to hit those deep tries when they have the opportunities. That's true of football in both regards. You send the ball deep down the field, you do it multiple times. Yes, you'll get a couple here and there, but the completion percentage is rather low the further the passes go. As this is touched inward towards Viveros, he's blocked off by O'Neal. Rodriguez and Dynamo win it back in the Vancouver end. Bulma. Halliday just playing catch with Barrett and Rodriguez, but he wins it back, trying to cut across, but you had a pair of defenders in the way. They got the clip, and he wins the corner, the first of the half for either side. A surprising thing that we haven't seen very much of our corners in this game. This is only the 4th one of the game, 3rd one going to Houston, and you had the pair of defenders in front between Salamani and Yuma Suji. And now you got a man down in the box as well, maybe trying to get some attention potentially. Final 15 minutes of regulation between Houston Dynamo 2 and Vancouver Whitecaps 2. Good news for Vancouver. They can go all the way from the southernmost point, at least in the MLS Next Pro in Texas, to going back to British Columbia and a back-to-back of home games. And they might have some fresh bodies on deck as well. Sahil Dio and Daniel Russo are coming into the match. The captain, Mark O'Neill, and the man who drew the penalty that got Vancouver their first goal of the match in Nikola Djordjevic, they are out of this match. Sahil Dio, 17-year-old Fijian Canadian from the Vancouver Academy, playing in his 10th match today across 2 seasons. As the service on the corner goes short. Centering, headed by Wolf. Jump ball, still alive. Bulma with a swing and missed. All things considered, this was a nicely executed play. It just didn't necessarily go the way Houston may have wanted to. Just keep those jump balls alive. You had a couple guys entangled, and Bulma had a shooting lane. He had space to shoot, just doesn't get it within the realm of the target. And Houston are back the other way with the throw. Daniel Russo, by the way, is the other substitution. The 23-year-old former Notre Dame defender, 2-time All-ACC, and was a huge part of that Fighting Irish squad that made it all the way to the NCAA Finals in 2023 before coming to MLS Next Pro last year with Atlanta United 2. Second season as a pro, second club as a pro. Guitao trying to use that quick elusiveness to buy space. He's done that well. He just hasn't made very much of it. The ideas are there. The execution, maybe not so much, as there's an offensive foul on Wakatuya. Turnover for Houston, but it's played back by Castro, and that allows Francoeur to clear. But Houston, they smell blood in the water in the final 10 minutes. Rodriguez, man down for the Caps. Guitao bodied off, still in play, not for long. Foot race for Coupland. Won by Wolf. You still have the man down on the pitch. Still not getting up is Jackson Castro, as you have the sliding attempt. And there's Castro to clear. Still have a man down back at the defensive end. They haven't called the play yet. Now they finally do. Here was that last play. You had the man down. That was a bit of contact made. Mateo Clark. I don't think Mateo Clark clipped anyone. He just went down awkwardly and started holding his leg. That is not ideal for anyone, especially for someone as young as Mateo Clark, the 18-year-old. He's a Houston native, came from the Houston Academy. He was actually born right after his father, Ricardo, got started in the 2007 MLS season. And right in between that play, this could allow an opportunity for someone else to step in. Coach Clark and the Caps have only used up three subs, so far, as Mateo Clark comes down. Third-year player, did not play in 2023, but he's one away from 25 appearances in his MLS Next Pro career, as Carson Rosek is warming up on the sideline. And that's a scary sight for Ricardo Clark, not just see one of you guys injured on non-contact, but have it be your boy as well. Just adds insult to injury a bit, but
substitution in Vancouver Whitecaps too. Doing the field number 63, Johnny Soleimani. Coming into the field number 71, Carson Russell. Also doing the field number 64, Mateo Clark.
So Mateo Clark will come out after all of that was said and done. You have Johnny Soleimani also coming out, as is Mateo Clark, so a bit of a revamp already on the right side of the field, now the left side as well, with the back, the midfielder, and the winger, as Houston already win it back. Trying to make his impact right out of the gate was Carson Rosek, who comes into the match. Only 3 total matches under his belt for a first-year player from the academy. Didn't play against Colorado, but did get his second match against Ventura County to start July. And the other substitution for Coach Clark, Soleimani for Rosek, Clark for Kashwele. 20-year-old from Edmonton, who is a national teamer at the U20 level with his native country of Tanzania. Rosek. A little bit of contact from Rosek, attempting to win the ball back. So those were substitutions number 4 and 5 for Ricardo Clark. Rodriguez down the middle, can't get Garcia. Wolf with 5 minutes to go. Bolma centers, Rodriguez towards goal, and the bouncers right towards Francor. Francor's had to make the saves he has had to make. He hasn't really given up any sort of gimmies or any sort of miscues. He's been pretty sharp for the most part. But how can you beat out an individual effort like the one that Matteo Di Morelli had in the 31st minute? As Halliday steps in, just gets banged around. And that was Sahil Dio who took contact. Halliday retaliates, and we'll see how this one goes. You had a little bit of pushing and shoving. It is going to be a yellow card. Michael Halliday with the yellow on the retaliation. Just some aggressive play, and then you had some of the extras with Dio and Halliday. was probably not the first shot. It was probably that one that got the yellow for Halliday. The homegrown, spending the last 5 years in the Orlando City organization. A little bit too aggressive on that last 1v1 with Sahil Dio. The last play results in a Vancouver corner where Jackson Casher will take his sweet, sweet time taking the first corner of the second half for Vancouver. All things considered, despite all the fouls, relatively clean half. That Halliday yellow was the first of the half. Here's Castro for the first corner of the half for Vancouver. Back post, chopped down by Alumi, but out of play for a goal kick to Pedro Cruz. Bulma, shoved from behind by Coupland. And there's a couple of clips from Cashwele, and he'll give Houston a free kick, and he'll take the yellow as well. Yellow card for Cyprian Cashwele. It was a pretty obvious one. He just took a couple of hacks at the Houston attacker in front of him, and now the Dynamo have a dangerous chance to tie it up. One minute from 90. Bulma to take. After the Cashwele yellow card, it is going to be Joshua Bulma. Short, Rodriguez launches from range but missed. Nice setup by Rodriguez. He's lined them up all game long, just haven't necessarily hit target. And the shots to shots on target ratio have not been great for Houston today. They are amongst one of the better teams at creating chances and getting shots on target. It's just that the percentage of shots that are on target are one of the lowest in MLS NEXT Pro. As it's going to be a strip. Cashwele trying to get it above Cruz but cannot do so. Eight minutes of stoppage time to go. The perfection streak at SaberCat Stadium on the line for Houston. Deadlocked at 5th place in the West. Only one can push forward on North Texas. Throw in for Vancouver. Vancouver Whitecaps 2 looking to extend their point streak to 6 of 7. And another yellow card coming out from our center official.
90 minutes. That's one yellow card caution has been issued to number 44 from Houston Dynamo. Lionel Guitao.
So it's Leo Guitao who gets the yellow as well right after the 90. Houston to travel to Austin and Minnesota in their next two. Vancouver have a 2-game homestand, SKC and St. Louis. What a dichotomy of those two opponents. Bottom of the MLS Next Pro and a team looking to continue climbing for the regular season title in MLS Next Pro. Currently, St. Louis 4 points clear of the New York Red Bulls for the top slot in all of MLS Next Pro. Versus Vancouver's next opponent, Sporting Kansas City 2, the only team yet to get a regulation win. What an interesting 2 matches that'll be for Ricardo Clark and his side, as that one's headed down by Castro. Leading the way for Coupland. And that is time-wasting, clinical from Coupland as he takes it back. Goal kick Cruz. 2 minutes, now 3 of 8. Houston with the opening goal in the 31st, 2 in the final 10 minutes of the half for Vancouver. Whitecaps dump it out, back in play for Cruz. As we just take a look at that last opportunity, it was just maybe a controversial one for Danny Russo. And the strip off of the distance service as Suji goes down. And Coupland, he has been so good on the receiving end of those last couple deep tries. Halliday and Coupland tangle in the corner. Halliday has to be careful, already on a yellow. Backward pass to Bolma. Halfway through stoppage time. Houston need a goal to force penalties. Houston yet to experience a loss when leading / getting the first goal of the game and at SaberCat Stadium. Was that clearance enough to win the corner? Looks like it was. Joshua Bolma, Pedro Cruz in the box. Service, headed, contacts Cruz. Still alive for the Dynamo. Cruz comes up with this, he scrambles back to his goal. Throw in for Vancouver. You have the scramble back by Cruz. Just trying to force the issue. Maybe trying to argue that was a handball maybe, but referee said play on as the throw-in's back in play. Disrupted by Barrett. Good play by Suji to get in front of that one. It's a chance to bring free. It's Alumi. He's got Coupland. Alumi's got 2! A brace for Ryan Alumi will win it for the Whitecaps as they're up 3-1 in second half stoppage. The desperation was going to grow, and honestly, without this play by Yuma Tsuji, this play does not happen. What effort by the midfielder, the Japanese-Canadian Tsuji, to set up Alumi. And Alumi buries his second. He gets the brace. He gets what is most likely the final nail in the coffin for the Vancouver Whitecaps. They will keep their point streak to 6 of 7. And they'll get their first win against Houston Dynamo Dos. Most likely for the first time since May of 2023. But a chance to the side of the net in response. Houston has life. David Garcia, his first, Houston second. Just when it looked like the insurance marker was in, David Garcia gets a goal to keep things interesting. That's his first of the season, his second in MLS Next Pro, his first goal since July of 2024, over a year and 6 days ago. But is there a chance for Alumi to seal it again on a hat trick? Lays it off, Cashwale gets it going! Right, just like that, end to end. 2 goals to 1, back up by 2 are Vancouver. And this one should do it. What an unselfish play by Alumi. A lot of the effort was done by Cashwale to win the ball back towards Alumi, and then lays it off for Cashwale. An absolute laser left footer to get the 4-2 lead as we go end to end to wrap up the game. We are in 8 minutes of 8.
Heavy attention, please. Yellow card caution has been issued to number 42.
A retry on a false start. Just when it looked like Houston had life, Cyprian Cashwale slams the door in Houston's face. And that will be it. After a dramatic stoppage time in the second half, Vancouver win it 4-2 in Houston for the first time since May of 2023. And our man of the match is none other than a man who got what essentially became the game-winning goal. He got a brace, and it's Ryan Alumi, our man of the match. Got the home run try to get his 6th and 7th goals of the 2025 season for the 17-year-old from from Alberta. And he has been absolute money as of late. 6 goals in 5 games for Ryan Alumi. Getting goals just before the first half and in stoppage time in the second. What a performance for Whitecaps 2 to win this game by a final score of 4-2 with a dramatic second half stoppage time when it's all said and done. Don't forget to watch MLS Next Pro all season long and MLS Season Pass on Apple TV and MLSNextPro.com. Final score, Whitecaps 2-4, Houston Dynamo 2 with 2, and Whitecaps are in 4th in the Western Conference. Thank you for joining our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew here in Houston. I'm Ryan Lee. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.